This is the SAU Report, a program featuring interviews with the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.
Hello and welcome to the SAU Report. I'm Heather Quent.
And I'm Tamika Gulley.
This week's guest is Miss Judy Vasser, theater professor from the Department of Theater and Mass Communication. Good afternoon, Miss Vasser, and thank you for coming to the show.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Miss Vasser, you're known throughout SAU as a special professor who's always ready to listen, lend a hand, and give chocolate when needed. Could you tell us how SAU was blessed with your presence, both faculty and staff?
About 3 years after I had been on maternity leave, I decided I could not stand to be away from the classroom. So I ventured toward SAU and brought my resume and asked if there were part-time positions where I could come and teach a couple of days a week. And I got a call the next day saying that there was a position available and did I want to come and do that on Tuesday and Thursday. So that was just exactly what I wanted to do to start out, and I did that for 2 or 3 years, and then that turned into a full-time job, and that's the way I came to SAU. It's just been wonderful. I've loved every minute of it.
Can you tell us what type of relationship you have with your students here at SAU and how you cultivate that that relationship as new students come in?
I think I have a pretty close relationship with most of the students. I enjoy the students. I learn more from them every day than they could possibly learn from me. I'm quite sure of that. I have an open door in the office and students drop by. Everyone in our department does. We have, I guess you would say, an open door policy. We have students in and out of our offices all the time, but probably because of the nature of the classes I teach, it is a class that lets you get to know the students a little bit better, and you really have more time to visit than you do in some classrooms.
Yeah. Could you explain to us your exact designated role in the theater department?
Well, there are 3 of us who work in theater. There are 5 of us, or actually 6, who do the speech classes, and we have a mass communication department that's in connection with the theater department. Mr. Reppert does the broadcast journalism. Mr. Stepanek does the print journalism, and then the 3 of us in theater are David Murphy and Dr. Dan Skelton, and then I do the other classes. And Dan does most of the directing assignments, some theater history, and he also teaches some English classes. David Murphy does the technical classes, and I do speech and musical theater classes, dance, costume and makeup, those classes, and then Encore.
Yeah.
Are you involved in any way with any of the plays put on by the theater department, and if so, in what way?
Usually I get involved in the musical productions, and I love the musicals. It's a chance to do some things that I don't get to do in the other classes with the students, and I've enjoyed working on the musicals since I've been here.
When did you first realize that you just had a passion for theater?
I guess you could say I grew up on the stage. I had danced since I was 2 and loved dancing and loved singing, and the stage is a very comfortable place to be, I think. It's a warm place to be, and as long as I can remember, I've just loved being on the stage. I always thought performing was the big thing, but it's a lot more fun to watch the students present their talents. It's really more fun.
You say you like performing. Are you involved in anything in the community that has to do with theater and the performing arts?
Well, my hometown is Prescott, and through the years I've been involved in church choir work and worked with children's sermons in church and done some things like that. I've worked in theater productions at the high school in Prescott before I came to SAU. So it's been pretty much a lifetime thing to be involved in the theater in some way.
Did you always know that you just really wanted to be an educator?
I really had my parents pretty scared, I think, when I was your age. I started to college as an art major, And my dad was a very practical person, and he kept wondering how I could make a living painting pictures. And he encouraged me to have some education hours, and I was an art major and a theater speech major also. So I got to combine all of my favorite things and share it with young people, which is the best part of all.
What kind of advice would you give students who come in who are interested in going into theater?
To take every course they can, to get on the stage every opportunity they have. A lot of our classes are taught on the stage, and I think the more you get on the stage, even if it's for a rehearsal, you gain confidence, you get a feeling of what the stage is really like. Sometimes we even have the lights on during rehearsals, so that's another feeling of being a performer on the stage. But every opportunity you have to get in front of an audience and do the things you love to do, I think that's the best thing you can do. The more experience you have, the more comfortable you are on the stage.
Yeah. What experiences have you had that really led to your need to be around students and to teach as your chosen field?
I think that all the time that I thought I just wanted to stand on a corner and paint pictures, possibly, that's what my dad worried about. I think I really knew I had to be around people. I love people. And working with young people the first time I ever directed a children's choir, it was wonderful. I loved every minute of it. And then I decided to add education, and the student teaching experience you have was a terrific experience. And then I had a grad assistantship that put me in the classroom with people who were almost my age. That was a little bit scary, but I loved that, and I always knew I wanted to be in college teaching again. It was a wonderful experience.
Can you tell us a little bit about what exactly children's theater is and what it involves?
We're performing children's theater this semester out of the Creative Dramatics class. And this is my first time to do this class. Jake Whitehead, one of our retired professors who we still call part of our department, he had done this class for years, and I told Dan I would love to try doing this. And so we have the Creative Dramatics class working on a presentation that would be suitable to go into elementary schools for maybe just a classroom, and then we'll do a matinee performance also later in the semester for the public. But we're taking the students in that class, and Tamika, you know, you're involved in that class, and we're actually writing our own production. We talked about a few ideas, and then the ideas just started jumping around from student to student. We have some very creative students in that class, and they are writing lyrics to songs and writing their dialogue. And after we get all of that part done, we've got to really work on our staging and characterizations, costuming, makeup for those characters. A lot of fun.
As an undergraduate or in high school, did you have a professor or a teacher that really helped you out and gave you the guidance that you needed? And if so, could you share that guidance with us?
Growing up in a really small town like Louisville, Arkansas, lets you become very close to all of your teachers. I was very fortunate to have some wonderful teachers who taught me the love of poetry and Shakespeare, teachers who gave me a good math background, teachers who exposed me to a lot of things that many small town students did not get exposure to. But I had a wonderful group of teachers in high school and in the lower grades also, people who encouraged my artistic abilities. And when I wanted to doodle all over the pages of my notes, they would come by and tell me how good my doodles were. So they didn't discourage things like that. And we didn't have an art department, so basically if a teacher had not encouraged me in some way, I would not have pursued that probably. But in a small town, and coming from a very loving and supporting family, I had the teachers, I had my family, and then I had that small community who had known my dad all of his life, and so they really all contributed to my growth and development, and they were all very supportive of me growing up and have welcomed me home every time I go home. It's a very good feeling, a security that you don't get in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Going back a little bit to children's theater, How difficult would you say it is to come up with a play for children as opposed to doing a regular play?
Well, I've had to censor a few comments, as you know, as we started writing this production. There's some things that are just appropriate for very young children, and I want us to keep that in mind if we're going out into the public. But we want to be funny, and we want to be entertaining. And I think it can be difficult sometimes because all of you are grown, and to go back to what you remember was entertaining to you at that age is not maybe what you would choose to go see now, but we've all managed to revert back to childhood pretty well, don't you think?
Yeah. Could you tell us how your life experiences have influenced your teaching style?
Wow, life experiences. I think every experience influences everything we do or become. And like I mentioned, I was blessed to have wonderful parents and a very supportive environment in a small town. I'm sure that influences the way I approach people and the way I love to be around people. But as for one particular thing, I can't think of what that one thing would be. Always feeling comfortable in my environment and the support I had at church and at home and at school and throughout the community was something you just cannot measure.
Yeah.
So important.
What are some of your future plans for children's theater? What direction do you see that going in?
We're going to try to tour just a little this year. After we do our production on campus, we're going to try to do some elementary schools that are close to the campus so that you don't have to miss your classes too much. But it's a very portable cast, set, everything we need we can take in one van probably. So we're going to travel and visit some of these area schools, and I hope it could become something that some of the children would want to come out and talk to us about. They might want to visit our class. We might become a recruiting tool starting with the lower grades because it is a lot of fun, and when children see you having fun, they want to be a part of it.
Yeah. Could you, a lot of SAU students have not been up to your filing cabinet to see all your quotes. If you had to put your teaching philosophy on your file cabinet full of quotes, what would it be?
We have a lot of favorite sayings stuck to that file cabinet and a lot of student authors, but I think it's really important for educators to remember that we are here for the students. You're not here for us. We should be here for you. And I guess if I have one thing that I try to do, I try to remember that, because without you, we wouldn't need to be here.
Yeah.
Being involved in the theater department here at SAU and also in your community of Prescott, how do you feel the community of Magnolia, do you feel they actively support the theater and performing arts here at SAU?
They seem to. Magnolia is a very good community for a community spirit, and they seem to support activities on campus, the joint activities with the Magnolia Arts Council and SAU. That seems to work very well. I know they've had a community theater here. Dr. Skelton and Jake Whitehead have both been involved in that. So I think there's an appreciation for the arts. In past years, we've done some big-scale musicals where townspeople were involved. When we did Oliver and Sound of Music in years past, we had a lot of town's children involved. When we did Music Man, we had children from the community as well as adults. So occasionally we do try to put on a production that involves community, people, and a lot of children. That makes it fun.
Yeah. In 1998, you were jointly given a teaching award. Could you tell us a little bit about how this came to be?
Well, that was a big surprise. The semester was drawing to a close and we were in the faculty meeting, and I assume a committee decided that, but I was most appreciative, and I don't really know what they based that on, but I was certainly flattered and most appreciative of that honor. it's nice to be appreciated for something you love doing. That's just a fact. If you enjoy doing it as much as I do, it's really nice that people think you're doing okay. You wonder some days, but it's really nice when others think that.
What were some of the criteria for that award?
Like I said, Tamika, I don't know. I've never served on that committee, and maybe it's stick-to-itiveness, I'm not sure. Perseverance, I don't know. But I appreciated it very much.
Well, that's what's important. After teaching at SAU for many years, what's the most important thing you've learned from your students?
I learn something every day, and you know that.
Yes, I know.
You all teach me a lot of things in the classroom as well as out of the classroom, but I've learned that I love what I do more than I ever thought I possibly could. And when people think I'm absolutely out of my mind to drive from Prescott, Arkansas to Magnolia on that curvy road every day, they just cannot imagine how much fun I have being here with all of you and sharing knowledge and a love of the arts and a lot of good times. Sharing that stage, that's a lot of fun. So, like I said, I get to do all of my favorite things, and when I get to share it with people like you, it makes it more rewarding than ever.
I don't know if anybody knows, and I don't really know a lot about it, but do you have to be a theater major or a theater minor in order to come in and audition for one of the plays put on by the theater department, or can you just be a regular student?
You can be a student enrolled at SAU. You don't even have to be enrolled at SAU. We have people in the community who try out. So it's an open audition. They're advertised ahead of time, and they have usually 2 nights of auditions, sometimes 3. Occasionally they have to have callbacks to be sure that the person is just right for the role, but everyone is welcome to come to auditions. And a lot of people show up for these.
Out of the performances you've been in, which has been the most memorable, and could you tell us why?
I have loved every musical. I even learned to love some music that I normally would not choose to buy or listen to on the radio. If, for example, someone in Encore sings it, I learned to love that song. But as for the plays or musicals I've been involved in, I probably enjoyed Oliver. Was a lot of fun. We had a very strong cast from the community as well as the college. Great music, fun choreography to work on. The set was terrific. It was a large cast, but I loved that show. It was really fun. My favorite all-time musical is South Pacific. I've been involved in directing it once and doing the choreography here one time. If done well, that is my very favorite musical of all.
Yeah.
Through your experiences, would you say it's more difficult to do a musical as opposed to a regular play?
I think so, because you combine the acting and all of the technical things needed for a straight play, a dramatic play, and then you add orchestration, and then you have to add singing and vocal music, and then you have to add choreography, and then you have the set that goes with any kind of play you do. So I believe it really involves more aspects of the theater and more areas of talents. So I think it's probably more complex to work on a musical. It's more expensive to produce a musical, much more expensive.
I know that we've mentioned the creative dramatics class, but would you like to do this again if offered?
The creative dramatics?
Yes.
Oh, yes. I think it would be
Having a
great
ball.
fun. Yes, we're having a good time. Anyone who wants to can drop in on that class, and you dropped in the other day.
Yes.
And we're sitting around brainstorming, writing lyrics. Amy Carey's on her guitar. She is composing music as we throw out lyrics. It's a wonderful creative process to be a part of. So I love this. This is one of my favorite things to do.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Encore program?
I hardly know how to start talking about Encore. I guess you would say it's my baby. I really love working with those students. We have grown. I think our beginning group had about 16 to 17 students in it when we first started. We have 68 on roll this semester. That is a large group. It's so much fun when you see the entire group moving in the right direction or doing something together, and they have a good time too. It's a nice stress reliever for the students. You don't have to be a theater major to be a part of it. It's a class people take. I think it's very important for students to feel a part of something on campus, and I know Encore has been that for a lot of students. People who have maybe chosen not to get involved in some other clubs have chosen Encore, and I'm very grateful for that. And they feel a part of the campus activities by that involvement.
1999 is a very special year for Encore. It's the 20th anniversary. And in your opinion, what makes Encore so special for the participants in the viewing audience?
Our viewing audience is everything from sometimes a very quiet, polite audience, and sometimes they get so involved they empty the stands in a gymnasium and rush to the court with us and start dancing with us. So our audience varies, which is a lot of fun. It keeps you on your toes and you don't know exactly what to expect from each audience. But for the students involved in Encore, this changes every semester. We have different people enrolled every semester. Both of you have been involved in this program, and you know that sometimes you might have a class conflict and you won't be able to be in it one semester. I don't have Tamika this semester. I hope she'll come back to us. But you have to be involved in the program and learn the routines, and we wait to see the talents that we have every semester in the group. We feature the talents that we have. We do a lot of group numbers. The emphasis is on group, not on creating a prima donna. It's really a group activity, but we have some wonderful, extremely talented individual performers in the group. So we feature those people too. We feature dancers, we feature singers, we feature talented MCs, we feature the talents that we have in the group. And this does change every semester. So I've compared it to a football coach getting a new football team every time they have registration. It's exciting. You never know what you're going to do next, but it's really exciting, and you have to be flexible.
I know some people like me are a little shy. How have you seen some of your students grow from their first day in Encore up until the end of the semester?
I've seen people like you get on the front row.
After being pushed.
No, I never pushed her. I have drafted Tamika before to become a front row dancer. She always knew, and you know Heather, Tamika always knew what we were doing, but sometimes I would have to say, Tamika, I need you on the front row, and she always did what I asked her to do, as well as you have, and this time you're being featured in a dance, and last semester, or last spring and fall, I don't think that you thought that would be your spot in the group.
Not at all.
But we change, and we each encourage the other people in the group. You're a wonderful support group for each other. We clap for each other. We scream and shout for each other when something happens that's wonderful in front of an audience, and we appreciate each other.
And it's an open class, anyone can register. You don't have to audition or anything like that. Could you, for maybe a freshman that was thinking about it, could you tell them just a little bit about the class?
It's a 1-hour class, 1-hour credit. We meet twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday at 2 o'clock. We have the regular class period is from 2 until 3:30, but a lot of us stay until it's over. Until sometimes I have to say, I've got to go home today sometime, and that's late afternoon. We keep our dancers a lot of times late to work on dance routines. We have soloists stay, and they work on special ensemble and solo numbers after the group has finished. So you can be as involved as you want to be.
Yes. Well, this has been the SAU Report. I'm Heather Quent.
And I'm Tamika Gulley.
We'd like to thank Ms. Judy Vasser, a theater professor from the Department of Theater and Mass Communication, for being our very special guest today.
Thank you for having me.
The SAU Report is a production of broadcast journalism students in the Department of Theater and Mass Communication at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.